Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at the new bow from the Deimos Arcana update. This is the Proboscis Cernos. If you were going to use this weapon, the build would probably look like this. We're going to start off with Amalgam Serration. We can really appreciate the extra sprint speed here for normal gameplay. Then we're going to run Split Chamber for the extra 90% multi-shot. This will be followed with Primed Bane of Corrupted or your appropriate faction damage. Then we're going to be running Stormbringer. And then Malignant Force for the Toxin and status chance to make viral. Thermite rounds to push that status further. Then Vigilante Armaments to make sure we guarantee at least 2 arrows per throw. And Vile Acceleration because fire rate mods have 2 times effect on bows. I find this weapon a little bit clunky without it, and having a double effect for mods means it's much more than say if you ran Arcane Acceleration. We won't be modding crit chance on this bow because it only has 7% base crit. The 1.9 multiplier is okay, but if you're looking at just the weapon build alone, there isn't really any space to fit Vital Sense on this. So you can see here we have Viral, Corrosive, and Heat on this build. This is your standard cookie cutter elemental split for maximum armor stripping and damage amplification. We're going to spawn our level 145 corrupted heavy gunners here. I'm going to wind up this bow and aim at their heads, as that's the whole point of a bow. You can see it creates a small set of vines at the site of impact, and then it pulls everything in within 9 meters. It does a ton of status and procs things well, but you can see the damage is a little bit lacking even with the headshots. It took 6 shots total to kill all of those heavy gunners despite aiming at heads. I'm sure we can improve on this build a bit, so let's take another look. I'm going to change this build and include Arcanes this time, so we're going to drop Vile Acceleration for Vital Sense. I said the benefit of fire rate mods being twofold is huge on bows, but if you really want to bring this bow up to its maximum potential, we're going to have to sacrifice that option. So on our Nidus here, we're going to be running Arcane Avenger to give us flat crit, which will be way better than base crit since it only has 7%. And then we're going to be running Arcane Acceleration for the extra fire rate. These crits will be fueled by the Arcane as well as the Adarza that we are bringing. The Adarza is just going to have your standard survivability mods and Cat's Eye with Tech Enhance to extend the duration of the buff. So we're going to spawn our heavy gunners again, and see I'm going to shoot at their head. Well, the first heavy gunner died in 1 shot, so let's just see how many more shots it will take to finish off this group. 3. That's twice as good as last time. So let's throw abilities into the mix. With Nidus's Tentacle Swarm, it kind of defeats the purpose of the bow in gathering enemies and does it even better. But what this doesn't tell you is you can still shoot the bow afterwards to produce a ton of AoE viral procs as well as more armor strip from Corrosive and Heat. This will make it much easier for you to build stacks with your 2. Now it is a little bit clunky on playing this way, but this is one of the few synergies I could actually find for this weapon. So let's look at a different way to use this weapon. I'm going to switch to Rhino here, and we're going to be building around his iron skin to get a ton of armor built up for it. We're going to run Arcane Guardian, as this extra armor scales into the calculation when you cast the ability if it's procced. This is very easy to use in normal gameplay, and I expect it to be active very often. Our bow functions here mainly to group enemies together, so then you can build up your dash multiplier and dash through them to set up your iron skin. This is where our Augment Ironclad Charge and Iron Shrapnel come in handy. Your Ironclad Charge is what's going to fuel the extra armor from hitting the grouped up enemies for your iron skin, and if the cast isn't to your liking, we have Iron Shrapnel to detonate it all for puncture knockdown and damage, while letting you reset your iron skin again for another cast. This will also come in handy if your iron skin is close to expiring, letting you recast it again without having to wait for it to drop where you could die at a moment's notice. So now we're going to look at this bow in Eidolons. Here I'm going to switch over to my Volt. First, we're going to take a look at the Warframe build. It's going to be your standard cookie cutter DPS with a little bit more strength than usual. We're focusing on our Shock Trooper and Vigorous Swap to fuel our damage. I'm also going to run Corrosive Projection. As you probably saw, this bow isn't super strong, so we need all the damage we can get. Because of that, I'm also running Arcane Rage. I will proc this probably with my pistol, which has much more multi-shot and fire rate. This way we can secure even more damage. I'm going to get more crit chance from Arcane Avenger, just like from the normal gameplay build, as you really can't use weapons in Eidolons unless you can force them to crit. I'm going to switch off to Sprint Boost so that I don't bias the test, as it's calibrated against 0 corrosive projections to reproduce the same effect against a Catabolyst. Now our bow build is going to look like this. We have Amalgam Serration, where you get that extra sprint speed to help your Archwing. Then we're going to run Split Chamber for the extra multi-shot alongside Vigilante Armaments. This guarantees we shoot at least 2 arrows at a time, which is super important for guaranteeing one-shots. Then we have Heavy Caliber for extra base damage, Hellfire since we're using Shock Trooper to make radiation, Vital Sense for that crit damage, Hammer Shot for even more crit damage since we're not modding crit chance, and finally Vile Acceleration for that 2x fire rate on bows. We're not going to be modding crit chance, which is why we can afford to do this, but if we really need more damage, I may consider dropping this for Stormbringer in the future. Who knows? Now for our companion, I'm going to be bringing my Sentinel. I'm going to be running the synth set on him so that I can passively reload my pistol if need be. It doesn't really have an effect on my bow, so it's not as important here. For the weapon, we're running all 4 Vigilante mods for the set bonus to increase our chances of pushing ourselves up a crit tier. The rest of the team needs to bring Adarzas because this weapon has such low base crit chance. By bringing Worm ourselves and making the team bring Adarza, we can benefit from both the Vigilante set and Cat's Eye buffs at the same time. This is the best case scenario. Now I'm also going to have to bring a Sarpa as usual since this is a meme run. We're going to focus on Shattering Impact to strip the base armor. I'm also bringing Primed Fury, Gladiator Vice, and Quickening to strip the armor faster. I'm going to bring Amalgam Organ Shatter so that in case I accidentally use the heavy attack it will end sooner, Tech Gravity to suck in bombs if I decide to use that passive, Modus Impact so I have more anti-knockdown when I happen to be in the air, and finally my Riven for more attack speed, but that's unnecessary. So for our pistol, I'm bringing our trusty Pandero. This Cernos is a projectile weapon obviously, so it cannot break water limbs. Because bows only have 1 in the mag and immediately reload, I don't need to bring my synth Pandero. Therefore, I'm going full DPS on barrel diffusion. Now for our test, I'm going to bring in Adarza since I can't easily proc Avenger and I can't replicate Harrow's buff otherwise. It's the standard build with Cat's Eye and Tech Enhance. Now let's spawn in our 110 Dracar Manic Bombards. I'm going to shoot the head to set up Arcane Rage, then I'm going to cast Shock Trooper and then place the shield. Now I proc Vigorous Swap and shoot the thigh. With Cat's Eye buff up, you can see it does quite a decent amount of damage, but most of the damage comes from the explosion. So this means I might have to shoot early and bet on the explosion to blow up the limb, or time the explosion with a second arrow hit to guarantee it drops. I really don't know, I'm a little bit concerned about the damage, but we can probably find a way to make this work. Worst comes to worst, I just resort to using Helmet Eclipse. This weapon could probably benefit from Rivens, although due to its high utility use from the mini tentacle swarm effect, I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to take for the disposition to increase. The damage could be a lot better, and I'm thinking multi-shot could help this bow somewhat as well to guarantee at least 3 arrows at any given time. If you can get fire rate on the Riven, this frees up a slot for alternative mods, such as Punch Through, which can help significantly. I wonder if it's going to produce multiple impact spots, I'm honestly not too sure, or even more sources of damage. Who knows? Let me know in the comments how you think this bow could be made better. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. See you all next time.